Ms. Stovall, you say nothing could mean more to you than today's paternity results. You are desperate to prove to Mr. Hines that he fathered your 4-month-old son, Robert, with the hopes you can win him back and one day get married. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hines, you claim you once loved Ms. Stovall, but believe her baby was fathered by another man, and therefore you can't be with her. You say your proof is overwhelming, but if the DNA results shock you, you'd consider getting back together. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Stovall, why are today's results so important to you?
Today's results are very important to me because I really love Mr. Hines, and I just want to prove to today that this is his son so that we can be together and hopefully get married one day.
But you have doubts, Mr. Hines.
Yes, I have doubts because although I do have a lot of love for Ms. Stovall and I've given a lot to her and sacrificed a lot for her, there's just so much things that she has done that has created a lot of doubts and a lot of discrepancies of if this really is and truly my son.
Let's talk about how this got started. At one point, you were happy.
Yes, I met Ms. Stovall when I was 17. She was about 21. It just didn't work out at that period of time. As time went by, I got older, I got more established in myself, and I seen her again on Instagram. We exchanged DMs and everything. As that relationship progressed, we started getting deeper and deeper in, but as we got deeper and deeper in, there started to be red flags for me that she might not be as faithful as she say she is.
What kind of red flags?
The first instance we ever got into was we exchanged passwords. She went through my stuff, I went through her stuff, and when I first went through her stuff, it said she wanted to meet a guy to go to a hotel with him.
Where was that, in her phone?
It was in her Facebook messages.
Oh.
We were just getting serious, and I was never going to do those things.
In your relationship with Mr. Hines, you were completely faithful?
Yes.
You were. And Mr. Hines, you don't believe that's true?
I have my strong doubts about it being true because there are just overwhelming piles of instances and circumstances where her words don't match up with the actions.
Explain.
If I was to elaborate, she has a lot of instances where she'll run off. I won't have track of her for hours on end, maybe even days, times where her phone will get cut off, where it'll go straight to voicemail. She'll run off with friends. I'll see these pictures. I'll see these messages. I'll see these interactions on Facebook, and it just keeps happening. It's not something that's just a one-time thing.
Do you have a pattern, Ms. Stovall?
No, Your Honor, he's very jealous. He's a very, very jealous and very overprotective. So.
Besides the messages, do you have anything concrete, Mr. Hines?
Yes. When she gets mad and when she gets frustrated, she sends me pictures with other guys. She sends me text messages questioning the paternity, saying, I can't believe you're trying to take him and you don't even know if he's yours, which would immediately...
Wait a minute, Ms. Stovall, you sent him pictures of you with other men?
Well, they were friends of mine, but we were never, it was never sexual between me and those friends that I sent him pictures of,
but
ever.
I can't know that for sure.
Okay, so did anybody bring some pictures? Does anybody bring some evidence to this courtroom? Jerome, let me see those, please. What are these pictures of, Mr. Hines?
The first one is a picture of her when she got into it with her mother over there. That's when she sent me the messages making me question the paternity with this other guy saying that we're good, we're straight.
In this picture here I'm looking at, that was attached to some type of message where paternity was questioned?
Yes, where she sent me a following text in text form saying that I can't believe you're trying to take him and you don't even know he's yours.
Was she saying that one of the guys in this photo was the dad?
That's all I can assume when you send something like that to me.
No, I was upset when I sent those pictures, but it didn't mean
What
that.
is this next photo of?
I don't know what that's about.
That's just an example of the type of picture she'll send me.
Did you send him that picture, Ms. Stovall?
No, Your Honor.
Is that you in the picture?
That's me.
How did he get the picture?
Probably off my Facebook.
So what is the last photo?
This last photo.
What? Is that your behind, Ms. Stovall?
That's me, Your Honor. That guy wanted to take a picture with me, and I did it. It was a stupid...
When somebody asks you to take a picture, that's your pose?
It was a stupid decision, but...
Whoa. You laughing. Is it funny? I mean, because you came in here and said you want to save your relationship
funny, Your
and you feel like your whole relationship is in jeopardy and you want to make it work with him. But now you got compromising photos.
That was a stupid decision that I made.
Okay, but do you understand then how these types of photographs, along with your behavior, has created a level of doubt for him?
Yes.
Do you take that seriously?
I do.
Do you think she takes the relationship seriously, Mr. Hines?
For me, in all honesty, with all the love I do have for her, I really don't feel like she takes a relationship as serious as she says with her words, because these photos are just small examples of a continuing cycle that I just keep seeing her with different men. I keep seeing pictures. I keep seeing text messages. I keep seeing bad interactions.
So why do you stay?
I stay because I see a potential in her that even if she doesn't see in herself, I see it. And I'm not gonna act like I have been all faithful in this relationship. Because of those photos, because of those interactions, I have cheated, but I have never lied about it. I've always owned up to it. And she never once tells me that she has done anything with anybody else, but this keeps happening, and you expect
So
me
you
to
all
be-
just messy.
Basically.
You're messy. This is messy. If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell.
One of the biggest doubts has been how the pregnancy happened. My mom came to me and told me that the way that she got pregnant just doesn't add up from a woman's perspective.
I am a woman. I'd like to hear it.
If I could give the bailiff this calendar.
Jerome, will you please hand up Mr. Hines' evidence? What is this, sir?
This right here is just the conception and how the conception worked. Would it be okay if I walk up to the...
Yes, you may approach.
Okay, me and Miss Stovall got into something in early June. She was living with me and my mother and my stepfather at the time because we all had an apartment together. She was living there. I came back from work and I asked my mother, where is Miss Stovall? She said, oh, she went out with a friend and she hasn't been back since such and such time. That's when it wasn't right. It wasn't the correct thing to do. I went out and I went to go to an ex's house and I slept with her.
Oh, so you cheated in June. Did you all break up?
Yes, it was a big old fiasco.
You had a falling out.
A big old falling out, and that's June, and she left for this entire time and came back sometime during this week, the week of July 19th, and after we've been back together for a couple days, she goes off to the hospital or whatever with her mom and calls me and tells me that she's pregnant, crying.
And so then little Robert was born
On the
March 29th.
He had to be conceived sometime in here from my mom telling me about how women work.
Okay, but you're right, counting back, it would seem as if the conception date would be sometime in June. And you're saying that's when the falling out happened.
That's exactly when the falling out
And you all were not together.
We was not together because she was gone that entire time up until this week.
Understood. All right, you may step back to the podium. So, Ms. Stovall,
Yes.
did you get missing in June?
No.
And for most of July?
After his incident, I did come back around July 3rd, and I did find out that I was pregnant, but I got pregnant like around his birthday, maybe.
When is that?
June 22nd.
But he said you left the house and you all were broken up.
Well, I left maybe for 4 days, but it was the end of June. I left for maybe 4 or 5 days and came
June
back.
22nd is the end of June.
No, it was a little bit after his birthday I left.
Mr. Hines, she is questioning your calendar. She says you don't have your dates right. She said,
I stand by that calendar, point blank.
when you all were broken up, were you intimate at all during that time?
We were always having sex, Your Honor. Excuse me. But yes, all the time.
Is that true, Mr. Hines?
When she's gone, I can't have sex with somebody that's gone. I had sex with her when she came back on
I was
that
gone
blue
for 4
week.
days.
So absolutely no intimacy, no sex during all the dates in red. You're saying you were not intimate with Miss
She was
Stovall.
gone.
She was gone.
She was gone. She was not there.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
That's a lot of time for you all to be confused about.
Yep. He's confused about that, Your Honor.
I mean, that's 6-7 weeks.
It's not true.
All right. Mr. Hines, I have to ask you this. You believe that during this time is when she got pregnant.
Yes.
Who do you think the father is?
One of her friends on Facebook that's always talking to her.
I've never been intimate with that friend ever, Your Honor.
It can fool.
How do you
Ever.
know which specific person she's talking about?
I know because he's in constant communication. He has said things to her.
Your Honor, I can't stop what men say to me.
You can establish a boundary.
And I did.
Ms. Stovall, you brought a witness. I'd like to hear from her. Ma'am, will you please stand and step up to the podium? State your name for the court.
Regale Stovall,
Ms. Stovall, you are Ms. Stovall's
mother.
mother. All right. Mom, do you think Mr. Hines is
Yes,
your
I do.
grandson's biological father?
Yes. I don't want him to be, but I do.
And you've heard the testimony thus far concerning your daughter's behavior. Pictures she sent, these compromising photos, men talking to her on Facebook, her admitting that,
Yes.
she's not really handled herself appropriately, and Mr. Hines admitting the same. Do you think
talking
it's
to-
any possibility that there could be another biological father?
Personally, the possibility is everywhere.
Okay, so
It's always a possibility. I wasn't there if she did that, so I can't
so what
say
you're
that.
saying
I don't
is you
believe
can't
that.
say for certain.
Yes.
All right. Did your daughter ever mention that there were any other guys she was intimate with during that time?
No.
She didn't. Mm-mm. Did you ever see her with any other guys?
No, not like her friends.
Yeah, okay.
She had friends.
All right.
And just because she had friends don't mean she's sleeping with everybody that she's with, that she take pictures with. What about his pictures?
The problem is we're talking about the paternity issue as it relates to little Robert, and Mr. Hines can't get pregnant. I sit here often and have to tell young girls, you can't get no tit for tat with a man.
No.
It doesn't work. Because, yeah, they can run around out here and they may father a child, but they're not gonna birth them.
No.
So that's a game you're not gonna win. Don't play games you can't win. The stakes are really high here. This whole relationship is on the line. You all both have professed your love for one another in this courtroom. And yet, I have barely heard testimony that would support this relationship like being healthy, happy, productive. Even when I asked you to take me back to the time when things were happy, it just started off with drama. This is serious. What does this mean to you today?
It means everything to me, Your Honor. My son means everything to me. My children mean everything to me. And I want us to be a family if we can make it work.
So, Mr. Hines, after hearing all the testimony today, do you still want to make it work?
For me, despite what has been presented against me, I love Miss Stovall because I see her as being someone who has been hurt, and that's why she does the things that she does, but it doesn't make it right. And I want to love the child if I'm the dad, and I have been there as a father. I sold my car to help us pay the rent when my parents left us. I sacrificed every possession I had when we were struggling with the rent and I wasn't getting no hours.
And if Robert is not your biological son, then what?
Then it is what it is, and I got to move on.
I'm ready for the results.
There you go.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Stovall versus Hines, when it comes to 4-month-old Robert Stovall, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Hines, you are the father.
Oh,
How does it feel, Mr. Hines?
I did. This is my first son. And I had to hold back all my emotions until I knew. I'm really happy.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to give him a life that I can never have. And I'm gonna be there for him. And I've been holding it back until I knew, because there's almost so much doubt. My family was always questioning, Everybody was always questioning on my end. And this right here is just, it's a relief for us. It's my legacy.
Yes, it is. Mom, what do you feel? Just emotional for your grandchild?
His family really took my daughter through a lot, telling him, because I believe he do love her. And that's why I said I didn't want him with her, because he was believing his mother and them before he believed her. And if you love somebody, you don't do that to them.
I understand your point, but you also have to understand he may have had doubts because of the nature of their relationship, because they've created this cat and mouse, tit for tat. I cheat, you cheat, I send you pictures, make you jealous. You see what I mean? And Ms. Stovall, as you stand there, I want you to understand, people have doubted you and that may be wrong, but you gave them ammunition, right?
Absolutely, I understand that.
Somebody want to take a picture with you, just smile and say cheese. Okay? Okay? Mr. White, you have summoned Ms. Loving to court to prove you did not father her 5-month-old daughter, Loyal.
Yes.
You've brought a witness to court today who believes he is the baby's father.
Correct.
Ms. Loving, you admit that Mr. White wasn't your only sexual relationship, but say you can prove he is Loyal's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. White, explain to me your relationship with Ms. Loving.
I mean, Your Honor, we never did have a relationship. Like, for 4 years, I known Tiana. We were good friends, but we were never in a relationship, Your Honor.
But you had a sexual relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
Going on dates.
Correct.
Meeting his mom, calling
Correct.
his mom.
Correct.
You're calling my mom. I'm
Correct.
meeting your brothers. I took you to a
Correct.
family reunion.
Correct.
But I'm not your girlfriend.
Correct. That's still, we had an understanding,
you
though.
call that?
It's still an
What is
understanding.
that?
It was, what is it? But what did you call it, though? It wasn't no relationship.
Okay,
was it?
so,
Mr. White,
That's not a
you're
relationship.
doing all that, but she's not your girlfriend.
Correct.
right.
Please.
Correct.
But clearly you were in a sexual relationship.
Correct, yeah,
Were you
yeah.
using protection?
No.
No, ma'am.
So you're sleeping with a girl
With no
unprotected
protection,
that's
but
not
your girlfriend.
Correct.
Okay.
Wow.
Correct.
I don't know
What is
what.
So
the-
take me to this point where you realize she's pregnant. How do you find out?
If I can recall, I was at work, Your Honor, and then she had told me she was pregnant, and so, you know what I'm saying, so when I got off work, I went over there.
Wow.
At the end of the day, Your Honor, you know what I'm saying, I'm asking, I'm the only possibility. She like, yeah.
I did say
So
yes.
I'm like,
I said
so-
yes.
Correct, Your Honor. She said yes.
So she says you're the only possible father.
Yes.
Do you believe that when she
No,
says it?
no, man, I didn't believe that, but I'm still trying to get her the benefit of the doubt because we were good friends, Your Honor. But you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm going to be there because I know I had unprotected sex.
But you
feel what I'm
wasn't
saying? So-
there. You wasn't there,
Correct,
though.
correct. Why I'm gonna
As
be
a
there?
friend. As a friend, you still wasn't there.
Correct, Your Honor.
What reason would you have not to believe her?
Because we already had a talk, you know, this supposed to been a one-time thing. Remember, we just started back talking when I doubled back, you know what I'm saying? We just started back talking.
This wasn't a one-time thing. Prior to that, we were still around each other.
Okay, we was around, but we hanging every day.
No, it wasn't
We
every
took
day,
a
but
break.
we was
We ain't see each other for a year and some
okay.
change, correct?
You're right, but we was
Correct.
still
So
in contact. We was still chilling.
That's correct.
Okay,
And so
We just seen
throughout
each other.
the entire pregnancy, Ms. Loving, you told Mr. White that he was the only possible
not
father.
throughout the whole pregnancy.
You didn't. When did you tell him otherwise?
I told him on Facebook in August that it was a 50-50 chance.
Your Honor, I never knew there was a 50-50
Yes,
chance,
you
Your
did,
Honor.
because when you
Listen,
came
this
to the
how it was,
hospital,
Your Honor.
Will, I showed you the message. I showed you the message.
Listen,
He
Your
came
Honor,
to the
this how
hospital
it
when
went,
Loyal
Your
was
Honor.
born. I showed
Correct.
him the message.
Correct.
That was a
Your Honor,
50-50
this
chance.
Your Honor, listen,
Your
Your Honor,
Honor,
I can't-
why tell one man that that's a 50-50 chance and not tell the other?
Yes.
I'm going to tell both.
Correct. Your Honor,
I
listen.
want to understand this.
Yeah.
Take me to the day she gave birth.
The day she gave birth, Your Honor,
You went to the
I
hospital.
went up there. Before I went up there, I got a DNA test, Your Honor. Left the DNA test in the car because I ain't want to bring it up there because I ain't know who was up there. You feel what I'm saying? I ain't want to be rude because we're going to be in my
That was
hand.
rude anyways, Will, for you to even do that. That was inconsiderate. I just
listen,
had birth.
How can it be rude when you don't know who your baby daddy
What you
is?
mean? Okay, I told you.
I mean,
it was
I gotta know.
a 50-50
I gotta know.
chance. Okay.
I gotta know.
It was a 50-50 chance.
But I gotta know, though.
But why?
I gotta know.
Why when I had birth? No.
Because I'd be taking care of another man's baby.
But I didn't
That's
pin
why.
it on you, though. I
So
never pinned it on
so,
you.
Your Honor,
I don't want you to take care of my baby.
Let's get some more.
All right, Your Honor.
Let's get
She's
some
good.
order. Let's get some order.
see that?
I
She's
need
good.
you all
She's
to
beautiful.
talk
Ma'am, she's
one
beautiful.
at a time.
She is beautiful.
I want to understand your testimony. You're saying, Mr. White, that you bought a DNA test
Correct.
and had it in your car.
Correct.
And you brought it up to the hospital the day that Loyal was born because you wanted to know on that day whether this
I
child
walked
was
in the
yours.
room, hey, how y'all doing? Miss Brennan like, damn, Will, you look different. You feel what I'm saying? I'm like, what you mean, Miss Brennan, I look different? She's like, you just look different. I said, why you saying that, Miss? I need to take off these glasses. She's like, nah, it ain't the glasses. I said, why you saying that? Because the baby don't look like me? She was like, it damn sure don't.
So they're examining you.
Yeah, correct.
But did you bring the DNA test into the room?
No, ma'am, I did not. I wanted to do it, but I didn't do it. You feel what I'm saying? I just wanted to have respect. You feel what I'm saying? I didn't know who was in the room. Remind you, Tiana just passed me the baby, so I'm looking at the baby, you know what I'm saying? Looking at the baby, trying to see what's going on.
And when you looked at the baby, did you feel like it was your
No,
child?
ma'am. She was beautiful, though, but no, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay, and so then did you ever ask Ms. Loving, I want to do this DNA test, I have it in the car?
I said, I got the DNA test in the car, you know what I'm saying? Y'all still want me to go get it? Ms. Brennan was like, yeah. I ain't hear Tiana say nothing, so I repeated it. You feel what I'm saying? I was like, you still want me to go get the test? She said, no, bro. She said, no. She said, no. I said, why not? She said, cuz them tests don't work or whatever.
Oh my God.
No, you didn't?
No, I didn't. Well, I didn't want to do a DNA test because I just had a baby, bro. What you mean?
What that mean?
I just pushed out a 6-pound baby.
And who your baby daddy?
Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Let's calm down.
She yelling. I'm right beside her.
So you've never had a chance to perform the home DNA test you brought to the hospital?
No, ma'am.
When you left the hospital that day, you did not know for certain if you were the child's father?
No, ma'am, I did not. I'm like, why you ain't tell me it was a 50% chance? She was like, I did tell you that. I did tell you that. I'm like, Tiana, well, you feel what I'm saying? Where you tell me that? You never told me that. She was like, I told you on Facebook. I'm like, on Facebook? I'm like, Tiana, first of all, bro, I ain't looking at no message on Facebook.
We didn't have each other's numbers, so how can I call you?
Correct. We didn't have each other's numbers, Yana. We didn't.
She sent you a Facebook message.
Yeah. She was
Sent him a
saying,
message saying there was a 50-50 chance between him and another guy.
Yana, I never knew about the other
That's
fella.
not true.
Why is it you picked that moment to tell him it was a 50?
On Facebook.
Because I
though.
had 2 different conceptions dates, Your Honor.
I want to hear from your witness. Ma'am, please stand and step up to the podium. You are Ms. Loving's mother.
Yes.
Okay,
Your Honor.
ma'am, what is your understanding?
Well, my understanding, I've always believed that Mr. White was my granddaughter's father. I know Mr. White and my daughter, I believe they were in a relationship because they were always together. He was at my house or she was at his house, and, you know, me and his mother, you know, we talk all the time. He called me mom. She called his mother mom, you know. One thing about Mr. White, you know, very respectful young man. You know, I love him. He used to get on my daughter, you know, about the way she talked to me. And I just looked at him like, he's a wonderful man. So, yeah, that's why I believe that Mr. White was my granddaughter's father.
All right, Ms. Loving, you got a conception date.
Yes.
During your first appointment.
Yes. I went to a recovery center when I found out I was first pregnant because I decided that I didn't want to have my baby. So basically, this is the center that basically helps you cope with the situation. But instead, they gave me a conception date, and they talked me into keeping my baby because they gave me an ultrasound. I heard her heartbeat, and I couldn't do it anymore.
And when you got that conception date, it leaned towards there were 2 men in the picture.
Exactly. When I got the first conception date, it pointed to Mr. White. I followed up on an OBGYN, and they gave me another conception date. So that puts me in the middle with 2 guys.
They then did the calculation and gave you a new conception date.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that conception date clearly pointed to a certain man?
Yes.
Which one?
Mr. Talbert.
Oh. So when you got the second conception date, you said it brought Mr. Talbert into the picture as a potential father, and yet you're saying today Mr. White is your child's father.
I'm confused about both.
Yeah.
So you are, in fact, confused,
Right.
and you really don't know which
Exactly.
man. I'd like to hear from your witness, sir. Please stand, ma'am. Ms. White.
Yes.
You are Mr. White's mother?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You have doubt as well?
I do. For one, Your Honor, my family has 6 fingers. My grandmother have it, he had it, my other son had it, and my other son's son have it. And to me, she don't look like my son. I mean, she's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? She's beautiful.
Yes,
and
she is.
everything. Yeah. My son right here, the only reason why he took the DNA there, Your Honor, is because from day one, we want to know so we can do what we have to do. My son is very responsible. He's been worried, stressed about it. You know, he want to know. If this is his, we refuse to have ours out there, you know, without us doing anything for it. I mean, why refuse the test? If I know you my baby daddy, you better swab it, baby.
I didn't
swab it.
I didn't
If I have a
refuse the
problem,
test.
if I have a problem, if I have a problem with that, if I was her and I just pushed the baby, what do me pushing the baby have to do with my DNA?
I didn't refuse.
No.
I didn't refuse. I didn't
If
refuse
she-
it.
if
I
she
didn't
didn't-
refuse it.
If she,
As
if-
Lord,
if-
but
Now you want to go up
Ladies
in
and
here and
gentlemen.
DNA test?
Let them speak.
Let's get some order.
if she was worried about it, Your Honor, call the nurse in. Ask the nurse, could she do the swab for her? You know,
Your point is if this is my child's father, and I know this, and even if I don't, even if it's still between two potential people,
Exactly.
if I can get this doubt out of the way,
Right.
and make sure it's still medically safe for my newborn baby to be
Exactly,
swabbed, ask the
exactly.
nurse, get it done, send out for the results, it's over. When she didn't want to take the test that
Right.
day, that just further fueled your doubt. So, Mr. White, you say you have a witness that says he's this child's father. Jerome, please escort Mr. White's witness into the courtroom.
Congratulations, bro.
Mr. Talbert,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for joining us today.
You welcome.
You realize we're talking about the paternity as it relates to 5-month-old baby Loyal.
Yes, ma'am.
You have had a sexual relationship with Ms. Loving, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you believe you're Loyal's biological father?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
All right. So why do you believe this?
Well, me and Miss Loving, we actually were in a relationship. The relationship was short, about 2 weeks, but over time.
It
you
only
know,
takes a day.
over time, you know, we were
So
friends.
you were in a sexual relationship?
Yes.
In the window of conception?
Yes. I have some evidence here. I got a picture.
Yes,
This
I'd
is
like
her.
to see that. What is this, sir?
This is her baby picture.
And that's a picture of you as a baby on the left, and that's Loyal on the right.
Yes.
And you believe you look alike.
Yes.
At what point did she tell you she was pregnant?
About 4 to 5 months down the line.
Which lines up with your testimony, Ms. Loving, because you say the first conception date clearly pointed to Mr. White, but then when you went to the doctor later on, it established
Put
that there
Mr.
was
Talbert in the picture.
potentially Mr. Talbert as another possible father.
Correct.
Because the conception date changed.
Correct.
So when you got this news, did she tell you you were one of 2 people that could be the
Yes.
father? She did?
Yes.
And were you happy about this news?
Well, I was kind of excited, but at the same time, I wasn't, you know, I didn't know for sure if it was going to be mine or someone else's.
So how involved have you been in Loyal's life? She's 5 months old.
I came home a week after the baby was born.
Okay.
And my family members were showing me pictures of her, and they were saying that she looked like me.
Okay. Now that she's 5 months, have you seen her?
Yes.
Have you held her?
Yes.
Have you spent time with her?
Yes.
Have you helped support her?
Nah. Well, it wasn't like that, though. You know, she already had everything. I asked her if she's straight. She said, I'm good.
He asked you if you needed help with the baby. And you said, no, I'm fine.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, did you say that because you really were fine, or did you say that because you thought Mr. White was the child's father and you wanted him to help?
I was really fine. I was okay. Loyal's good. She don't need nothing.
Ms. Loving, when you looked at this evidence that Mr. Talbot presented and you saw those pictures, did that change your mind, or you still believe Mr. White is your grandchild's father?
When I look at them pictures up there, Your Honor, she does look like him. But like I always said, I believe that Mr. White was the father because that's the one
Who
that
she wants to be the father.
No, it's not that I want him to be the father.
Why do you say that?
She knew how I felt about him, and she likes him. She wants us to be together. Like, she really likes him. And that's where we fall out about, because at the end of the day, you don't know the situation between me and him, so you can't just go off of what you see.
I mean, to be a mother, we have hopes and dreams for our children. And if it was somebody that I hoped and dreamed to marry my daughter, it would have been him. You know, he never disrespected me like some of the people she's been around, and I just loved him. His mother did a great job raising him.
You understand that has no bearing on the biology? Or,
No, I know that.
I think
Mr.
it's
White.
clear that you hope that this is Mr. White's child because of the way you feel about him and what you feel like he would be in your grandchild's life. a good father, a stand-up guy, maybe even marry your daughter. But understand that there are hopes, there are dreams, and then there is DNA.
Yeah.
We have the results for you. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of White, Talbot versus Loving, when it comes to 5-month-old loyal Loving, it has been determined by this court. Loyal's biological father is Mr. Talbot. Congratulations, sir.
Appreciate it.
Are you glad to know the truth?
I am.
Mr. White, your assertion was true. But I do have to say this. I appreciated the fact that you were still present on the day Loyal was born.
Right.
You still took it upon yourself to try to solve an issue
Right.
that really was separating you from bonding with this child. You tried to do what was right. Ms. Loving, are you glad to know the truth?
I'm glad to know the truth too. I don't really know Mr. Talbot.
Well, you'll get to know him now.
And you know, one thing that I did ask him when he came to visit Loyal, if she's your child, what are you gonna do? That's what I asked him.
And what was his answer? I'd like to know the answer to that question as well. Since she is your child, what are your plans?
Stepping up and being a father and making sure I'm there for her.
Good.
Miss Tucker, you believed another man was your dad until a bomb was dropped on you 10 years ago when your mother admitted that the defendant is your biological father. You opened your case to prove to Mr. Hunter that he is your dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hunter, you admit you have distanced yourself from the plaintiff because you have serious doubts you are her father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Tucker, you admit you initially lied to your daughter, but claim you and Mr. Hunter have always known that he is her father. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Your Honor.
So, Miss Tucker, I'll start with you. Explain why you opened your case.
I opened my case because for these last few years, I have been trying to get Charles to do a DNA test with me. Twice I scheduled a test, he didn't show up. And it's just a lot of confusion in my own mind, and it's very traumatic to me. I'm trying to figure out if he's my father or not to close this chapter in my life.
And so this is something that has been with you. You've been struggling with this.
Yes, because I grew up thinking someone else was my father. So to find out that someone else could be my father, it's really had an effect on me.
All right, Mr. Hunter, Miss Tucker has expressed how much this means to her to find out who her father really is. What is your response?
I want her to find out who her father really is also.
You don't believe you are?
Well, I had doubts because her mother told me that I wasn't 30 years ago, so.
And so, Mom, Miss Tucker,
Yes, Your Honor.
you hear your daughter speak,
Yes, Your Honor.
express her pain.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say you and Mr. Hunter have always known that he was her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there something you haven't told your daughter?
I told her that someone else was her father at the time in order to protect her. I felt like Mr. Hunter was not a good role model.
So you felt by saying someone else was her father, what she had a better chance of having a father in her life. What was your reasoning?
No, Your Honor, that's not the reason why. I was dating this guy, but it was basically over. And at the end of the day, he wasn't good for her, and neither was Mr. Hunter. So I just went on and just raised her by myself, with my family.
All right. So, Miss Tucker, tell me, who did you believe was your father early in life?
I believe the other gentleman was my father. I always grew up only hearing his name, and his sister used to come and get me, and they treated me as their own. Every weekend, I would be with his family. I never met him. He never was around, but they still showed me a lot of love.
And so when did you find out that he may not be your biological father?
I was in the 5th grade, and his sister had came and got me one weekend like she always did. And they were on the phone, and I was over listening to their conversation with her telling him that he needed to come around and he needed to meet me. She believed that I was his daughter. And I walked in and I asked, was that him on the phone? And she said yes. She gave me the phone. And it was my first time ever talking to him. I was really excited. But I wanted to know, you know, where was he? Why was he not around? And that's when he told me that my mom was not being honest with me. And he knew I wasn't his daughter.
And over the phone?
Mm-hmm.
And how old were you when this happened?
I was in the 5th grade.
Whoa. And so at that point, you were excited to get on the phone?
I was excited, but I got off the phone traumatized.
Of course.
Because that was the first I had ever heard that he wasn't my father. Yeah.
And I can see when you think about that moment, it makes you emotional to this day.
Yeah, because I grew up thinking one thing, and my very first time talking to him, you know, hearing that, it was confusing. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. And so I see you fighting back tears, honey. I know you've had to hold so much of this in. What do you do after that?
His sister didn't come get me again after that, but I did go home and I talked to my mom about it, and she told me it did not matter because she was my mother and father and he didn't do anything anyway. And so I just accepted it as that. My mom's always did her best with me, and I grew up with a great family, so I just took it as if it was his loss. Yeah.
It was. So, Mom, you hear your daughter
Yes, Your Honor.
in tears talk about that conversation in the 5th grade.
Yes, Your Honor. I felt like I was selfish, basically, but at the end of the day, it hurt her. So I'm here to clean what I did up.
Your Honor, may I say something? Even though my mom was wrong, I still feel as though Mr. Hunter also knew a big chance that he was my father. My mom is wrong, but he's wrong because I was born innocent into this. And even if she told him he wasn't the father, he knew he laid down with her. So he should have took measures into his own hands to get his own DNA test. That's really how I feel about the situation.
At what point do you hear about Mr. Hunter, Ms. Tucker?
I was in the 7th grade, and where we're from is very small. So I was at a store, and there's a woman who knows them both. And she told me, she said, you look just like your dad. And so naturally, I'm thinking she's talking about the other gentleman. So I go, oh, you know my dad? And I said his name. And she goes, that's not your dad. And that's when she said Mr. Hunter's name. And that was the first I have ever heard of him. So I went home, and I did tell my mom what she said, but my mom just said she was lying. So she didn't know what she was talking about.
So, Mr. Hunter, I want to go to you because I want to understand, when did you know about Adriana?
Adrian told me she was pregnant.
So when she got pregnant, you were told?
Yeah. And she told me the child wasn't mine.
And what was your relationship like with Miss Tucker? You were dating exclusively? You were boyfriend and girlfriend, or just?
Yeah, for a short while.
Okay.
Yeah, for a short while. But when she told me she was pregnant, she said the baby wasn't mine. I left and I got my life together. And I stayed gone for 15, 16 years. I came back to North Carolina hearing rumors that she was mine. So what am I supposed to do when someone tells me I'm not the father? I move on with my life.
But even though he's saying he went off what my mom said, I was in middle school, and the young woman that is like his daughter, I guess he was there to pick her up, and they called me out of class. This was the first day I ever saw him. And he told me who he was, and he told me that he was my dad. That's what he said. So
Wait, what?
That's what he told me that day. And I told him no, like I always have said, the other man was my dad. And when I went home that day, I told my mom, and just so happened, my mom still said no. And then we see him. I guess he had just moved back to town. And they see each other, and they're like going back and forth. I didn't know the details, but now I know that's pretty much probably what they were going back and forth about was me.
So, Mr. Hunter, did you show up at the school and tell Miss Tucker I'm your father?
That was a long time ago. And I vaguely remember that conversation when she was at that school. And it could have been like a jokingly type of thing when I said
No, you don't joke. You don't pull a child out of school and then tell them a joke that I think I'm your father. So that's not gonna fly with me. Come with some new testimony that makes sense. Do you remember having that conversation?
I remember seeing her at that school. I don't remember exactly what was said, but I remember coming to the school.
So, Miss Tucker, I want you to look at Mr. Hunter and tell him what you felt like, because you remember it and you haven't forgotten it.
No, I have not forgot it out of all of these years, and I thought you were lying because I had never heard of you. But that's one reason why I've continued to seek you, because of what you told me that day. That's just the truth.
I'll admit that when I found some words out that she might have been my daughter, I should have stepped up and did something. So I had a lot of things on my plate, but I wasn't denying her because I had other things on my plate. I just kept saying, I don't know because we haven't had a DNA test. Her mother told me I was not the father.
Miss Tucker, when does your mom finally admit to you she believes Mr. Hunter is your biological father?
I was 23, and we were in the car with my aunt, and they have they're a loving relationship, but my aunt's very vocal. And I just was talking about some things that I wanted to do, and my aunt made the comment to my mom that she had not been truthful to me about who my dad was, and she needed to tell me the truth. And my mom looked like she just looked like my aunt better keep her mouth shut.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I'm in the back seat and I'm looking at my mom and I'm looking at my aunt and I'm like, Mom, what is she talking about? And my mom is like, you better be quiet, you better not. And that's when my aunt told me that he was my father. Yeah.
So your aunt actually submitted a statement to the court.
Mm-hmm.
It reads, my sister confessed to me that Charles was Adriana's father, but at the time she wanted nothing to do with Charles. So, Mr. Hunter, have you ever thought and said to yourself, what did I do to her? Why am I the person that she wouldn't tell? And the whole town, my mother might know, her sister might know, my family might know. How are you the only one that don't know?
Did it have something to do with another situation that we were in that she was mad about?
What situation? We here now. I mean, I could see the look on your face right now. I know it's got to be something else. What's the situation?
Well, I had met a young lady, and come to find out it was Adrian's sister. And I thought that she was happy about that.
So you slept with her sister. Did you know this?
Your Honor, this has nothing to do with my sister.
When I came back to North Carolina, Adrian wouldn't speak to me, she wouldn't talk to me, she had nothing to do with me. That was the reason why I felt she wouldn't talk to me.
Got it. See, this is it. Woo, thank you, Lord, for patience. I couldn't leave it alone. I'm like, there is something bizarre happening here. And I don't care, Miss Tucker, I get what you're saying because that's your perspective. And I understand what he's saying because he left after you said the baby's not yours, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you told everybody else that you thought you confided in, and people had thoughts that the baby might be his, but you told him she wasn't.
Yes, Your Honor.
He's gone. But during that time, and that would have been almost 20 years ago, when he comes back to town during the window of time when he was hearing the rumors, he hooks up with your sister then. See, that is where this story shifts. Because people act based upon the lens they're seeing things through. That's not your lens. Your lens is, even though I told you it wasn't your daughter, you should really still know. You know, women, we have a thing of doing that, you know. What's wrong with you? Nothing, I'm fine. I'm not fine. I'm not fine. Right? Is this your baby? No. But you, in your mind, you thinking, he should know it's his baby. He should know. That is not how the world works. And what I get most is when I look at you, Adriana, and I see the confusion. When you speak and I see those, you well up with tears every time you talk about it. And I feel for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of all of these dynamics, you're the one that suffered.
One thing I want to say to both of them is that this is about me. And I feel like both of them are just kind of nonchalant about it because this is the most I've heard out of all of this time. It took for me to have to take matters into my own hands to get both of them here and answered, and it should not have happened like that, I feel like. I just don't think it should have happened like that.
Yeah. You are right. This is exactly why this courtroom exists. Jerome, I'm ready for the envelope. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Tucker versus Hunter, when it comes to 30-year-old Adriana Tucker, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Hunter, you are not the father. I'm sorry, Adriana.
It's okay. I just wanted answers so that I don't have to keep interrupting his life or, keep going through this in my own life. So, yeah.
I'm very sorry. I was hoping to be able to give you the closure you deserve.
Yes.
But I do have to ask you, Miss Tucker. If you say the other man was not the father and Mr. Hunter was, and now we found out Mr. Hunter is not, who is your daughter's biological father?
It has to be the other guy, because it was just them two. I'm not that girl, so between them, it has to be the other one then. Yeah, Shauna.
And where is he?
Not for sure.